Let's go. Same guy, different haircut. Today is Friday. This is a Top Hat Friday. I guess any Friday I feel good. It's a, oh, hello. Wow, you're just in time. Today is a full moon edition, because tonight at the moon, cool hat. Thank you. It's my Willy Wonka. Funny little Willy Wonka hat. So I guess 4 o'clock is a good time. Time for our hillbilly hoedown. Now let you just take off them pants. What movie is that from? You just started. Oh, play guitar. All right. Then you can make some videos of you playing guitar. Guitars kind of draw a crowd. Any kind of good instrument playing draws a crowd. There's some guys at the park when I go there. They bust out the guitar. There's 2 guys that show up at the park every once in a while, and they sing some, some 70s songs, which I really like. I need to get my wand too, so I can make things come out of my hat. Oh, and Twilight Zone the movie is also featured. If I can remember, I'll put a link to Twilight Zone the movie. That has a lot of cool scenes. It's about one of the segments is about a kid who makes wishes and they automatically come true. The leaves are still changing color. The miraculous things of nature. You know what? Harmonicas sound a lot like accordions. I guess they work on the same principle. There's a wind going across real small vibrators, I guess you can call them. Whenever you blow into a microphone or into a harmonica and harmonica, these little fingers vibrate and it causes the sound to come out. I don't know if it works on the same principle, but Weird Al Yankovic was good with the accordion. He learned how to play the accordion very well, and he incorporated him into the polka. His music was polka, and he used an accordion to play polka. A Mighty Wind was a pretty good movie too. It was about folk songs. So I guess we play until the sun goes down. Hello, lads. Greetings, lads. Lads and lassies. I think Lassie was a female dog. Lassie is always used to refer to a female. Lads and lassies. That's funny how Bambi was a male deer, and a lot of strippers are named Bambi. Don't get got that wrong. You don't want to bring home a Bambi if she's a stripper. You don't want to find out she's a Bambi. So we have a gathering of the usual suspects. Are you asking me or are you asking Trigger? My favorite food seems to be pastrami. I just had a pastrami sandwich before I started the show. Pastrami! Yes. So, yeah. I think pastrami is up there in Chinese food. I like Chinese food. There's a place called Ichiban that's in Hiram, the next town over. And it's an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. And yes, Chinese food. Was that video? All I want is Wingstop. All I want is Wingstop. That was a popular video. I have that video somewhere in one of my playlists, my comedy playlist. Her eyes were red too. Did you notice that? So we have a gathering of the usual suspects. So today is the full moon edition, because tonight is a full moon. At midnight, the moon will be completely full until tomorrow. Flutes I really like, flutes and trumpets. That'd be funny if like one day you just started playing the trumpet and people will think it's the Revelations. You do like an announcement, title noted. Da, 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 da. Is that Gabriel playing his trumpet? People start freaking out because they think they're going to be judged. So I guess this will be a nightly thing, right around 4 p.m. I didn't bring my watch with me. I usually am a good watch watcher. But who watches the watchers? Oh, I brought something to show and tell for my security days. I got my my flashlight. It's also a stun gun. It has an LED light. You can barely see it in the daytime. Well, thank you. It's a fancy hat. If I tilt it just right, I'll have to get my hat enlarger out. I have this thing that stretches hats, and I need to stretch it to my size. I think if I put it further down on my head for a long period of time, it'll stretch out. My black hat fits me better. There we go. Well, then that's what we could do. We could wear them on Top Hat Friday. I used to think I was the only one that collected top hats. I started collecting top hats and people started complimenting me. Ooh, nice hat. I see you have a top hat. Sometimes people want to put it on for a few minutes. Say, hey, let me try your top hat. There must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found. For when they placed it on his head, he began to dance around. And there's a secret about my flashlight. Anything that, hats are pretty cool to collect. I had a big collection of hats before I moved from California. I had one of those Clockwork Orange style hats. I think it's called a derby. I still have a collection of hats. I've got this one, I've got a black top hat. I've got that jazzy hat, that blues style hat. I call it a musician's hat. And then my Camp Crystal Lake hat, and my Russian hat. my other fuzzy hat. I like this secret. Let's see now. I'm going to show my dark secret. It's a stun gun, or it's a stun flashlight. It's loud. Sometimes I've been able to keep away assailants just by making this noise. That's pretty common. It's a surprise. Oh, he's got a gun. No, it's a lighter. This one even says police. If I can. There we go. Policia. I've heard that in Mexico, don't hand your don't hand your driver's license to a federale because you have to pay to get it back. What you do is you roll up your car window, and you put your license against the window so they could read your license. But man, that's mean. It's like you hand your license to a federale so they can look at your license like they do here in the U.S., but then you have to pay to get it back. It's like, is that real? Did that really happen? There are a lot of interesting customs in other countries, and also the way people word things. They wanted you to send them money. I've heard that. A lot of people, like if you go to a Mexican prison, that's what they think. If you're from America, they think you're gonna be able to do something for them. I would never want to go to prison. There's a lot of scary things that happen there. I watched him rob a guy with his phone. He had his phone with him, and he had some accounts, or he had an account, and they were forcing him to transfer funds from his account into their account, which is, I guess it's a new way of robbing people. They get more high tech about things now. A lot of the organized crime. So keep your nose clean, kids. And that's what it's all about. Forget the hokey pokey. Keep your ass out of the pokey. That's funny how they called the prison the pokey, or the click, or the slammer. Get to bang your tin cup on the bars. I never tried oysters. I've had those stuffed clams though. Those are pretty good. They take a clam shell, and I guess they make some kind of crab salad, and then they cook it into the shell. But I've never had oysters. Not a fan. Not a fan of the oysters. And then there's Rocky Mountain oysters. You don't want Rocky Mountain oysters. Got some walkers by waving at me. We'll see if that black cat shows up again. I notice that black cat will show up sometimes during my live stream. I guess we can call this a podcast. Podcast is such a popular thing to say nowadays. Everything's a podcast. That's right. That looks like an orange cat, a pumpkin flavored cat. That's what I'm going to try to do with these live streams. I'm going to have a link to a movie. YouTube puts out movies that are free with ads. Calico. I used to have a calico. They're all different colors. course, her name was Colors. I think that's what inspired me to have a cat, or when I was a kid, is cat commercials for cat food. It's like, hey, I need a cat in the house now. Oh, now it's time for Friday. Everybody can feel the relief of everybody. You know, they're getting off and they're going to have their weekend. Most people have weekends. I used to always dread hearing those people that say, oh, I got to work tomorrow. They say, it's Friday. Oh yeah, game ads. That's what's interesting is gaming kind of took off. It did take off because when I was younger, they you could only play video games in arcades, or some stores would have video games in the stores, and you had to put quarters in to play the game, all the way up to the 80s. And then, 2003. So that was about, yeah, that was less than 30 years ago. Or no, 23 years ago. We used to keep track by decade. Now it's the 2000s, the 3000s, the 4000s. Like 2000, yeah, because I remember that when I was growing up, it was always like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. And then as soon as 2000 hit, it was, people started losing track of those 10-year periods of time. Wow, back in 2004, back in 2003, back in 2005, you're known as the millennials. Games like Star Wars. So I was born before the turn of the century. So before a new millennia. I guess millennia is years. So we're still getting these little helicopters. Whee! So now my backdrop will show the seasons. You know, we're now in fall season, and then it'll be winter. Sometimes it snows here, not very often, but it does get cold. We had some pipes burst. That's always scary to happen. We came home from Christmas, a Christmas gathering over in Kathleen, Georgia, which is like 3 hours away from here. We came home to busted pipes. Is the season for the reason? It's a time of a season. I like my tiki style. This looks like a Chinese Mongolian carving. And it's where I keep my jaw harp. I call it my IUD weapon. Not weapon, it's not a weapon. It's an instrument, my IUD instrument. Internal uterine instrument. You untie a little bow tie and then you can pull out my IUD. I remember walking through a snowstorm one time in California. It was up in the Sierra Nevadas. You couldn't see in front of you. You know, it's like you almost need to put your hand out so you don't run into a tree. Snowstorms can be pretty horrendous. Sometimes you get a snow drift. You open up your door and there's a wall of snow. People in Canada get a lot of snow. They get the sub-zero. Zero in Celsius is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. 32 degrees Fahrenheit is 0 Celsius. And that's at the point where water freezes. I found that out just a couple of years ago. So when you say 0 in Celsius, you're saying 32 degrees in standard. Yeah, metric and standard. That makes my nose itch. Playing the jaw harp makes your nose itch. Or Jew's harp, which sounds kind of racist. Why don't you get out your Jew harp? Got to neatly tie it so it doesn't fall out. There we go. So everyone made it through their week all right. Everyone made it without a scathe, without a scar, without a heart scar. Sometimes weeks seem to last a long time. And then when you finally get to Friday, you get to go camping on Saturday or fishing or whatever you like to do. Some people just do yard work. It's like, wow, what a horrible... That's right. The Three. Tenacious Three. I've always wanted to make a movie called Tenacious Three. But the Tenacious Three can only come together for a short while, or they start to, or the universe will be destroyed. If Tenacious Three stays together too long, something happens that causes the breakdown of the universe. That's how we defeat our foes, by uniting. That's right, we're the Three Amigos. I remember in the 80s there was this a movie called The Three Amigos. I think it was Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short. They all played these guys who were actors. And it was kind of like Galaxy Quest. If you ever watched Galaxy Quest, the aliens thought that they were actual heroes, and it turned out they were just actors. It's the same thing in Three Amigos. Three Amigos is a pretty funny story if you watch it from end to end. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? I think that was at the end of Grease. If you ever watch Grease all the way from the beginning to the end, they start playing Why Can't We Be Friends when they're showing the pictures of the yearbook. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we? Maybe that'll be my theme song. I'll start singing, why can't we be friends? Because this is called Let's Be Friends. We'll call it Why Can't We Be Friends? Because sometimes people don't get along. I've been around people who I can't get along with, no matter how hard we try. Everyone has their own way of looking at life, their own thought process. I got to think of a way to light up out here. I want to get some tiki torches. Get some tiki torches out here so that put them on either side of my chair. I'd light the tiki torches, or have some kind of a lamp out here. But then I'd have to run an extension cord out here, and then have tiki torches. There, you see them sometimes when you go into grocery stores like Ingles. I know they have them at Ingles here. It's just a bamboo stick, and it has this. It's a gas, or I guess kerosene. It's bamboo, and it's kind of, at the end of it, it's kind of woven as a cup, and then there's this gas container not gas, it's a fuel container, and you light it, and it just it's kind of like lighting a kerosene lamp, and it's called tiki torches. In Hawaii, they're called kapu sticks, because kapu is supposed to mean off limits or forbidden. That is kapu. Like here they say forbidden, or in German it's verboten. Tiki torches, they're pretty fun. They have the end of the bamboo shaft has has a sharpened end, and you just stick it into the ground, and you light the other end, and it's got this canister that holds kerosene, and it has the wick on it. It's called a tiki torch. I do look kind of dapper in this hat, and it's starting to fit my head now. It doesn't squeeze my head as much. I gotta let my head breathe though. I look like Jimmy Hoffa. Who's that guy? Jimmy Hoffa. He was a Teamsters guy. Oh, Christopher Lee. I got that I was Christopher Lee yesterday. He was into collecting patches from different branches of the military, specifically Special Forces. I think he was in the Special Forces, and he would collect patches from other Special Forces groups. There's one patch that says, "If I told you, I'd have to kill you." I think it's the Secret Service. And it literally says that. Yeah, he was. Captain America was also a Nazi hunter. If you watch really old Captain America, he was the guy who fought the Nazis. But that's in fairy tale. But yeah, there's a lot of people who were against the Nazis back then, who did a good job of sometimes a lot of Germans were against the Nazi Party during the Second World War. They're actually, yeah, he played quite a few characters. Count Dooku, Saruman, and he also played that vampire back in the 70s, I think. Christopher Lee. Nothing in my hat. You see, there's nothing in there. It's all up here, baby. So that's pretty healthy for us to join together and have a powwow. That's right, that was Saruman. He also had really long hair. He was the one that was fighting Gandalf. You shall not pass. I think it was the guy who played Dumbledore. The second Dumbledore. He was also, or maybe I got it wrong. Oh no, the guy who played Magneto. The guy who played Magneto in X-Men was Gandalf. He played Gandalf the Grey. Or Gandalf the White, yeah. You shall not pass. I remember being into X-Men, boy. I liked Magneto and Wolverine, and how each of the kids were misfits, you know. There were just a lot of people who went to Xavier's school. They had those badass powers. It's amazing how many actors actually get hurt. If you watch some of the Three Stooges segments, the Three Stooges were actually getting hurt, you know, like getting poked by forks and having things fall on them, or slipping and falling. They actually had to recover from those injuries. There was a tribe, I think in the Amazon or Congo, where you have to stick your hand in some bullet ants. There's this funnel that's woven that has bullet ants in it, and you have to stick your hand into this funnel, and these bullet ants have to bite your hand, and you can't shed a tear If you shed a tear, you have to do it all over again, which is crazy. What people can, how much pain people can endure or are supposed to endure without even shedding a tear, that's up there with the Spartans. So as the Black Lagoon, yeah, a lot of people have died. Joan of Arc died that way, literally being set on fire. I've been burnt by things that I don't think I'd want my whole body to feel like that. I've been bite by things. So here we go. I guess my audience is mostly a male audience. There aren't. I think only 9% of my audience is female. I guess this is called the Man Show. This could be like the Man Show. The Man Show. Back in the 80s, no, it was the 90s. Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel had the Man Show, and I used to stay up and watch the Man Show way back in the 90s when I was a much younger man. Ziggy zaggy, oi oi oi. Those from the 90s would recognize that. There was a guy who was at the piano, and he would play burlesque kind of songs. I don't know. You know what I heard is people who were burnt to death in a past life, they wind up having a fascination with fire. I remember as a kid having a... Yeah, that is a hard one. Would you rather be burned to death or grinded? One thing I wouldn't want is to be boiled in oil. I've heard people being boiled in oil, certain rulers, certain dictators. So yes, there are some gruesome ways to die. I think the worst way to die is accidentally. It's like you don't even see it coming. You just find yourself in a horrible situation and you're about to die. That was what... I know. That both are painful and slow. I say get it over with, you know. Just a quick and powerful... I don't even want to know that it's coming. I think gunshots are sometimes the quickest way to die. Sometimes you don't even hear. Fast and easy, that's right. Get it over with. They say with gunshots you don't hear the bullet. The sound comes later. You get hit by the bullet and then the sound comes later because sound travels at I think 100 feet per second is the rate of sound, or the speed of sound is 100 feet per second. So that bullet hits you before you hear it. You just go, "What's that?" You know. But other people say if they've been hit by a bullet, it burns. It feels like being hit with a sledgehammer. They say they did that on Reddit. They say which hurt more, being stabbed or being shot, and some people said being shot was much worse. But they say the most fatal is being stabbed because there's a lot of blood loss during a stabbing or a slash. Yeah, stab. Have you ever listened to or watched Tim and Eric? Tim Heidecker was stabbed in the back. Some guy was freaked out on drugs, and a guy stabbed Tim Heidecker in the back with a kitchen knife, and he said it felt like somebody was punching him in the back, and the knife had gone in a few times, and so yeah, I guess both of them are they equate to being punched, or they feel like you're being punched. The other one is a sledgehammer. The other one is being punched. Would you rather be punched or hit by a sledgehammer? Yeah. These are morbid things to think about, but it's fascinating at the same time. Drowning is also kind of traumatic. That's what I always say. You can die and not suffer, or you can suffer and not die. I've definitely suffered and not died. And then I hear people like these ghost hunters or psychics. They say that people who are dead don't know that they're dead. It's like, wow, what an interesting thing. You're just watching something happen, or just yeah. Those close calls are always the ones that make you go. Shoo. I've been through a couple of close calls, almost getting into an accident, almost losing a limb. You know, yeah, those almost ones. It's like you realize that you are being watched by angels. There are some angels that are pulling you out of harm's way. Like times when I was almost crushed by an appliance. We had these stackable washers and dryers, and I was having somebody help me get the stackable washer and dryer up the steps, and the the thing slipped off of the dolly, and I would have been just destroyed by this thing because they're pretty heavy. And it was up on the dolly, and it was an appliance dolly, so it had this strap that holds the appliance onto the dolly, but it slipped off that small lip that's on there. And good thing yeah, that's weird being approached. I was approached by cops a few times. One time I was at work, and these two cops showed up, and I guess they were looking for somebody who looked like me. And I remember I was getting ready for an inspection on the property that I was working on, and two police officers came up to me, and I guess somebody had called the cops and pointed me out as somebody who was prowling or whatever. It's like, no, I was about to show my driver's license so they could run my background or see if I had any warrants. And they said, no, that's not necessary. Another time I was walking, and somebody pulled up right behind my mother's car. This was way back in the 80s. Somebody pulled up right behind my mother's car, and I stopped, and I watched it happen. And I was hoping they weren't going to hit her car. And this was on Y Street over in Sacramento. It was right when I first moved to Sacramento, and this patrol car pulled up, and it was a cop came out and told me to put my hands up, and he started patting me down, and he said, "What are you doing out here?" I guess because I was walking around at night. I was in my 20s, and I went to point over where it says that guy was parking behind my mom's car, and then he pushed my hand back. So, what did I do this time? Yeah, it's weird when you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and a cop is searching the area for somebody, and you kind of look like that person. It makes you kind of think about what every little thing you're doing. Makes you kind of what was also made me paranoid was America's Most Wanted. Whenever I'd watch America's Most Wanted, my paranoia would kick in. It's like, yeah, I better watch every little thing I do, because that could be construed as criminal behavior. So I hope you're enjoying this podcast, this live stream. It's a chance for us to talk, and for me to break character, you know, so I don't have to always be making little videos and people not knowing what I really am like. and what you really are like. It's interesting, these topics that come up. Which is worse, being grinded to death or being burned to death? Or which would you rather have? So I guess this time of day we just watch the sunset. I like to be up in a tower on a day like this, above the treetops where I can watch the sunset. I like tree lines, but sometimes the tree lines get in the way of a full moon or get in the way of watching a sunset. Yeah, I think that's what we're all trying to do is fix our lives. First of all, you got to realize that you're going down the wrong path, and then you have to choose a different path, and then you have the struggle of staying on that path. Yeah, fun stuff. So I think the show and tells might, I don't know, I thought it was something to spice up, something that might spice up or make it more interesting. My spot pod or my podcast slash live streams. Just bring something to show. Show and tell used to be always a fun thing at school. People would bring things and talk about them. Yeah, see this bullet? It was pulled out of my grandma's leg. See this? See this cigarette case? Somebody fired a shot into it and saved my father's life back in the Second World War. You know, they say reality is stranger than fiction, and I agree. So we're 42 minutes into the show. How about that? We're the three amigos. Three guys just kicking it, talking about this, that, and the other thing. Oh, we got a third person. So far we got three people here. So four in total. I've been fishing. Spearfishing was one of the most interesting off the Hawaiian coast. What was it? Oahu was the island I was on, and that was the first time I ever went. I was a kid around 15, 16 years old, and we did snorkeling, and that was a lot of fun. I didn't use sunscreen back then, so I'd get a real bad sunburn on the back of my neck. Face is down in the water, and the snorkel is up, and that's how you breathe. You keep your face down into the water, and the way you breathe is through the snorkel, of course. And the sun would just beat down on the back of your neck, and you wouldn't know it until you went home, when the sun just cooked the back of your neck. And that would have been nice to have some sunscreen back then. I'm pretty sure it existed, but it just wasn't used very much. There was, I went hunting with my dad one time. We went squirrel hunting. He had like a 22 caliber rifle. And we went out into the woods together when I was young. And I was just waiting for the time he was going to shoot that rifle. He never shot it. The whole time we went out there, we were just walking through the woods together. And I'm kind of glad he didn't, because sometimes rifles can be really loud. And I guess we didn't. I guess he wanted us to just go out into the woods together, just take a walk. Because I noticed he never shot any squirrels. He said we're going squirrel hunting, but we didn't shoot any. He didn't shoot any squirrels. And a couple of times I went by myself. I had a BB gun, one of those pump action BB guns, and I had some bunch of BBs, and it took a lot of BBs to kill a squirrel. I felt so bad for that squirrel. You don't just shoot it one time and it's over. You have to keep shooting the squirrel over and over again. until it's finally dead. And I don't think I ate the squirrel, I just skinned it. And I didn't know anything about skinning a squirrel, so it kind of went sour, it went bad. So yeah, it was very bad for that squirrel. And then one time I shot a bird with my BB gun, and I took the bird home and plucked it, gutted it just like I would a chicken, or just like I would a turkey, and I stuck it in the oven, and it tasted rather gamey. It's like, that was the first. Yeah, bow hunting seems to be kind of popular around here in Georgia. People take their compound bows. I have a crossbow. I like to go shooting with the, first of all, I want to get really good at using the crossbow. It's like a 150-pound pull, and it has a stirrup. You put your foot in the stirrup and you pull back the string, and it hooks into the trigger mechanism. I have a lot of bolts, and I also have those hunter's tips, where if you shoot a deer, it'll bleed out. And I guess they're called razor tips or hunter's tips. So that's something my brother's into. So maybe my brother and I can go out and bring down a deer. My brother said he felt bad for a deer one time because he shot it and it didn't die. It was suffering. So he had to keep trying to kill the deer. It was like me, myself, and Irene when he goes to shoot the cow. When Jim Carrey, I guess he hit a cow. The cow didn't die. And he just went through all this trouble trying to kill the cow. It was it reminded me of that, because he said he felt so bad that he shot the deer in the head or something like that, instead of behind the front. You know, you have to get him right in the heart, behind the front leg or whatever. But I think it was in the head where he shot the deer. The deer was just suffering the whole time. It's like I think he had a Rambo knife, and he was trying to kill it with a Rambo knife, and it still wouldn't die. It's like, but he still goes deer hunting. I guess it's all a matter of being really good at hitting your game right where you need to hit it, so you can kill that deer. Almost thinks of deer hunting back. I think about deer hunting and turkey hunting when I see this backdrop here. I gotta make myself comfortable. There we go. You don't want to mess with moose, man. I hear stories about moose. I heard that Canadians avoid moose. They're very dangerous, very large, a lot bigger than you think they are. When you see them on TV, they don't look so big, but man, they're big. You don't want to hit a moose with your car. A moose they're dangerous creatures, those moose. I wouldn't do up against a bear. They'd probably rival a bear. Well, at least the mosquitoes aren't eating me today. I guess this is the time of year when mosquitoes don't come out. The mosquitoes. Goats. Have you ever seen eagles on the side of mountains? On the side of a mountain, an eagle will swoop down and knock a goat off the side of a mountain. So when the goat falls and dies, the eagle has something to eat. That's pretty brazen. That's powerful. Eagles, as big as they are, they just swoop down and knock a goat off the side of the mountain or hill, and then you see the goat falling down the hill, and that's how they die. And then the eagle goes down there and starts eating the carcass. It's a lot fresher than waiting for roadkill. That's one thing and cats. Eagles are big enough to carry cats away. And small children. So tomorrow, at my brother's house. We're going to be there's a trick or treating festival, I guess. Whenever Halloween falls on a weekday, they move the date to a weekend so all the kids can trick or treat, not have to worry about going to school the next day or the parents going to work the next day. So that's where I'm going to be tomorrow. I want to try to keep my I know that's weird how we're skipping meals. I used to never skip meals. Today I just skipped I know I had breakfast after I went to my doctor's appointment, and then I fell asleep, and then I missed lunch, so I had my my dinner, my lunch for dinner. So yes, eating is very important. So it's not considered rude if you leave to eat something. And I think I might cut this. It's already we're almost an hour just about into this segment, and yeah, I got to get all rested up for tomorrow. I'm going to be a magician for tomorrow. My mom's going to be the bunny rabbit. She has rabbit ears and a little cottontail and a little bow tie. I think she's going to wear a white sweater. And she'll be my bunny rabbit. I'll wear my top hat and my wand and my cape and everything. I'll be I'll be quite the magician tomorrow. Then maybe I'll get some of the trick or treaters. You know, sometimes people have really good costumes. One guy was Joe Dirt. One kid was a truck driver. And then you get the clowns. Some of the parents dress up like clowns, and Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz, and fairies. Fairies are my favorite. I like the little wings, you know, the wings and wands, and you know, their little ballerina outfits, and it's pretty cool. And the boys dress up as Darth Vader and Spider-Man. I see Spider-Man so often. It's like, think of something else. Think of, you know, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. Sometimes they have little wigs on. Like Superman will have a wig on. or or Chucky. What's really interesting is when a little kid dresses up like Chucky. I'm trying to think of other costumes. One woman that comes to visit for Halloween, she was dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, and she had the Big Bad Wolf's head, just the head of the Big Bad Wolf on the end of a stick, I think. So there she was dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, and she had the Big Bad Wolf's head on the end of a stick. And some of them get pretty. Yeah, you mentioned that a couple of days ago. You were saying the plague doctor, the one with the really long, I guess the long mask. They say that the plague doctor, in that mask, they would have herbs in there that smelled nice because the plague was real stinky. And that was why their mask was shaped like that, was to put herbs in there. And also they had goggles, I think. And yeah, plague doctors were, they were actual things. Or actually, yeah, the plague doctors. That's a very original costume. I don't think you see many plague doctors out there on Halloween night. I wonder how many corpse brides will be out there. How many Beetlejuices will be out there. I was thinking about being a jackal from Halo. Halo that, yeah, Halo is a game. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Halo. Where they all have those helmets on. I remember Doom. Oh, okay. So we're on the same page. Yeah. So we all know what we can all relate to each other. Sometimes Halo, what's that? I remember in the 90s it was Doom. I remember playing Doom until all through the night. I'd start playing when the sun sets, and I'd play until the sun came back up again. So from set to sunrise, I was playing Doom. And that was back when you had the joystick and you had, you know, you had to upload the disc into the computer. I think I was in my 20s when I was playing Doom. And then you had those brown creatures that would throw fireballs at you. Yeah, I remember Doom. Now it's gotten to be like you can wear goggles and it's like you're in that universe. Gaming can take up your day, but hey, it's better than getting into a car accident. It's better than being shot when you're at Walmart. The Walmart just up the street from where I live, it was on the news. It was the Walmart in Hiram. Someone went crazy and shot their girlfriend and then shot themselves. And I'm glad I wasn't there. It was a Walmart that my mom and I go to. My mom and I go to that Walmart because it's closer than the one here in Dallas, Georgia. It's funny that we're in Dallas, Georgia, but you have to travel so far to get to the Dallas Walmart. And then the Hiram is the next town over, and that's the one where somebody went crazy and shot his girlfriend and then shot himself. And it's weird how you find things out before the news. Somebody tells you before the news shows it. It's already, you've already heard it. It's like, did you hear what happened at the Walmart? Duck and cover. They should have drills at Walmart, just duck and cover. Get on the ground. When you hear a gunshot, get on the ground. Crawl to the nearest exit. Oh, I just saw an owl. It looks like an owl flew over there. They're starting to come out, the owls. So we're popping in and out of 3 people. We got 3 people, and then we don't have 3 people. Sometimes it's 4 people, but it shows 3 people. It's getting darker and darker and even darker. I'm going to show you the sky. Look at that. Look at that pretty sky. We got a maple tree. We got a lovely cloud above us. We got even more lovely clouds above us. Isn't that wonderful? There we go. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. If you want to change the world, I know, isn't that interesting? Looks like somebody took a brush. Bob Ross got out there and just went with his fan brush. It made a happy accident. It does kind of look like it's been like somebody just tapped their brush. I'm pretty sure I did just see an owl. Maybe we'll do a nature watching segment around here. I think that's a hawk. I hear a hawk. A baby hawk, maybe, I don't know. So I guess I'll have to wrap this up before it gets too dark. It'll start to get cold. I don't want to get cold. So I guess 4 o'clock will be our powwows. We'll have our powwows. I'll have to try to make a list of things we can talk about, unless we're okay with spontaneity. Remember, reality is stranger than fiction. Anything you want to bring up before we close? We also we also see bats in the summertime. I'll see bats flying around. I don't see them so much this time of year. I remember in Portola along the Feather River, you can there were lots of bugs around the Feather River, and you could always see bats flying over the river to eat the bugs. That was always fun to watch. Around sunset, around this time, you could just head out to the river and watch all the bats collect the bugs. They use their tail. I've seen video of the the bats. They fly around and they scoop their tail when they use their tail to catch the bugs, and then they munch on them. Bats don't make any noise. They make like a little screeching sound. You can kind of hear them. It's that sonar they use. So I've gone for. I have never been in a bar fight. Bar fights scare me because somebody could break a bottle and use it on you, and sometimes they don't even know. You don't even know that they've broken a bottle and they're stabbing you with it, or use a pool cue, and there's nowhere to run. You know, you're in the bar and you better get out of the way or get really good at bar fighting. I've heard stories about bar fights. Chuck Norris gets into bar fights. Oh wow, like an old cowboy movie. Somebody pick you up and toss you out a window. What's with that guy? Someone who's big enough to pick you up and throw you out of a window. Did you dust yourself off? Like in those I always think of those cowboy movies when I hear about bar fight or like a biker movie. So that's what you have in common. You've been in bar fights. That'd be a funny play on words, you know. So, uh, oh yeah, it's those guys you have to. Yeah, those are the ones you have to watch out for, though. The ones that are shorter are always the ones that take the most martial arts classes. The ones that are real wiry. The ones that are really good at wrestling. It's like, yeah, just because you're just because you're short doesn't mean you can't kick ass. I've heard so many stories about that. You know, I took on this short guy and he cleaned my clock. I like those emojis where they the cartoon of the eyes, the doll's eyes. So I see a number 3 up there. So I got 3 viewers or 3 participants. So I guess we can do this again tomorrow when there are a lot of trick-or-treaters out. We can do a commentary on Halloween costumes. Yeah, tomorrow is the 28th. Yeah. Yeah, one watches, two talk. Two men enter, one man leave. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. I like that. Beyond Thunderdome. Spin the wheel, get a deal, or something like that. Who run Bartertown? Who run Bartertown?
Jupiter time.
It's starting to get cold out here. I better wrap this up. Then tomorrow will be a Halloween edition. Today is a full moon edition, so we'll do the Halloween. I sound like a hosa. Oh, he's okay. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. So I'll keep it up. I can start making strange voices for you to decide what sounds they are. What do those voices sound like that he's doing? So Calibert, that almost looks like a handle to somebody. Well, I guess I can end this particular segment, and tomorrow will be a whole new segment. I'll try to... Oh, called BRD or RAD2, RAD2. I misread sometimes. Some people misspell, I misread. So, thank you all for joining me, and we'll do this again, and we'll make this a thing we usually do then. Have a great night.